What I went through yesterday to make this happen, it's not replicable. This is not simply due to being 47 and now I'm old, there's nothing you can do, go on without me. It is just exceptionally hard with all the cameras in the world to make sure that I can see everything, to shave the back of your head accurately, and I haven't even put the hairpiece on yet. Now it could be that this is just day one, but nobody warned me. Nobody warned me that this is an extreme effort upgrade from a front partial. Having a camera here stuck to the mirror of the bathroom and just leaning forward would allow you to use a power mirror to transmit from there to the sink. And then you'd be able to see. And then shave forwards. And that is how I will do it when I travel. I don't expect to be taking a ceiling rig. But this level of effort, God, that was exhausting. Hopefully, whatever this disease is on my head will have slithered away to a little corner of my skull somewhere after I used Dermate on it. I'm just wondering if this is sustainable. What I just went through, trying to aim a razor blade back here. You know, I've been doing this for 14 years. I guess to the rest of you that must have looked pretty weak compared to what you've been doing for however long you've been doing it. But that's getting the back of your head with a razor. Now I understand why you just do it by feel. Because close enough is good enough after a while, isn't it? Because that's just fucking so hard. And the thing is, if you're looking front on at a front-facing mirror, you know how your hand works. Even if you had to use your left hand, if you're right-handed, you'd still have some idea. And you might have even gotten used to handheld into the main, so you can do that. But see, that would be hard. It's all hard. This front part for me became not hard. I guess it's possible that this might become not hard too. I've just moved into the murky world of blindness. Like, this is fucked. What's happened to my eyes? $700. The other pair that you see me wear often, $1,200. And the other pair, the ones that can change in the sun, transition lenses, and they've got triple focals, they were like $2,000. I spent a fucking fortune on these glasses. And during the time, November last year, when I started ordering them to when they started arriving, my eyes deteriorated so much that they kept on going, oh, just before those glasses arrive, let's just double check his eyes again, like machines and stuff. And since then, this is my strongest pair, and they're already too weak to read a lot of things. It's blurry now for me. But losing your eyesight is pretty bad for this kind of thing. I'm going to have to watch some more videos from you guys to figure out how to cope with this. Because I can't guard the back of my own head. When people are sniggering and thinking, look at this guy's back of this guy's head, he's wearing a toupee. I've never thought of it as a toupee before when it was here. Hairpiece. Boom. Oh yeah, I've just got a couple of sessions missing, no big deal. Boom. But this redefines me. Like, I dreamt of being a rock star. I'm 47 now. You know, Frank Sinatra did it, but he was a star when he was a kid as well, so you can't just start at 50 in the music industry. I mean, you could be an actor, but you can't be the lead actor, you know, being Superman or something at 50. I spent my whole life fighting my family. It didn't work out. So I stopped living, and I haven't lived, and now I've got to deal with this. This is fucking hard. And you can see how obvious a hairpiece can be if it's not done correctly. How the fuck am I supposed to get the back lined up exactly? All around the edges lined up exactly. If there's any overhang anywhere along this part here, it'll be a dead giveaway to anybody who looks at me even slightly. It'll be so obvious that I'm wearing a hairpiece. There's no merging from this back bit that I used to brush over to merge my hairpiece. I'm out in the open sea with this. There's no protection anymore. There cannot obviously be a fucking gap, because people would see a line of hair missing around your skull. I didn't realise how big the freckles on my head were. And now I'm starting to think they're just aging spots. I've never felt so old. Greying and balding. This puts me in an entire different category in my mind. Seriously, I am dead set bald now. And it's not a comfortable feeling. Of course I'm going to stick something down on my head now before I shave it all off and give up the whole thing. But giving up the whole thing is looking more and more like a feasible option at this point because of the exhaustion I felt in doing all of that. I'm almost tempted to shave my head just for medical reasons. Hopefully this stuff's starting to clear up a bit. I feel like that creature, whatever lives in my head, only likes to live there when he can hide in the bushes. New problems will arise with this hairpiece as well. A pillow, sleeping on a pillow, mushing my head around in my sleep, that's probably going to start flipping it up and it's going to be a big problem. And then every single day, then again I had that problem of having that gigantic bump, which was ridiculous. This would solve that. But at least I could access the whole thing from the front facing mirror. Knowing I'm this bald, seeing myself like this, it's like in RoboCop, where he gets to look at himself in the mirror without his shell. And he says, I never want to see that again.
Christ. Holy Christ, there's nothing left.
It's scary when I've woken up. It's the realizing that it's all gone. And I could push shit uphill and go for runs at the gym and like trying to make myself into a Hulk and care a lot about life. It's very difficult for me to see beyond the truth. This is why wisdom is not a blessing, it's a curse. Being innocent with the whole world ahead of you and not knowing about the pain and suffering that's everywhere. That's the way to be. Innocent, not wise. Avoid wisdom at all costs. Trust me, go back. Wisdom, it means you've become so disheartened because you've been broken by everything. And so you're quiet and slow when you nod your head. You're not nodding it with, there, I have a lot to teach you. You're nodding it with, there, I've been through a lot of fucking pain. And I know there's pain in every direction. That's wisdom. You look around, it's just, you're like, shit, I wish I wasn't wise. Here's some innocent little fool. I'll fuck his life up so he doesn't get to have happiness as an innocent. I'll teach him wisdom, then he'll be fucked like me. That'll make me feel like I've at least got companionship. That's the trick, isn't it? Don't let anyone teach you wisdom. I'm trying to do it to you now. I'm trying to, unload my pain onto you so you take some. You take some. This is too heavy. That's what's going on here. Every time I talk to you, that's what I've been doing for these past 400 plus episodes. Just take some of my shit. Let me wipe my pain on you. Now that's wise. It's arrived! It's arrived! How do you kill it? Oh my god. This looks pretty good. Are you all right? 2 packages have arrived. One of these gigantic oversized scissors that got 5-star ratings on Amazon. Non-stick titanium. Are the ends pointy and dangerous? Well, they're not rounded. Oh, they're just hard to just easily slip your fingers in and out. Yeah, they're not quick and easy. They don't want to come off your hand. They're quite annoying. They might be sharp though for maybe cutting out hair pieces. Don't recommend these. That feels robust, and it's friction. It's got a nice stiffness to it, and it's tightenable as well. With some decent sized screw heads. But that's not going to ever, is it? What if I rotated that? Does this rotate? Yeah, it does. Okay. That's not a button, that's just it's for aesthetics. Can that come past? Sort of. Because what I was thinking was, it's probably better for my purposes to hang this upside down so I can always come around underneath. If the mirror was on top, that'd be a problem, but if it was, see, it's always going to sort of protrude outwards from this 1/4 inch screw. We'll probably want that going downwards most of the time, which might mean that we don't want any of this, like including this tightener, to ever be facing up. Oh, that's interesting. This is held on, so it can't come off unless I probably undo that completely. So if I manage that so that that's facing downwards, can I get this so that it can never cross paths? So long as that isn't facing upwards. Oh, you can do it. It's on a spring. You can pull it out of the way. That's really good. Okay. So that can always clear that area. Because with these ball connectors, although it won't, because I'll be moving these around all the time. Yeah, probably more reasonable to think that this will never cross the path. Just manipulate it around anyway. I'm still happy with it. This clamp, is that too big to fit over the little screw on the end? It's made for a larger pole, I think. So I might have to go up a bit on my other pole. I don't think this pole is going to be adaptable to coming from the ceiling to replace my other pole. This does have twist release, which is nicer. So if I were to come from this downward facing, I guess I could remove it. This head, I probably could remove the head. Then I guess I could connect this to that. Now let's just see if this table clamp is sort of permanently locked in, or if this is a nice 1/4 inch screw here. That's not untwisting, and that's been sealed by glue to look really nice and rubbery. So whatever bolts are holding this to here, it's certainly not a quick swap release and put this on the ceiling kind of situation. So despite how nice this is, it is really well made. I won't be putting that on the ceiling. I'll leave the one I've got on the ceiling, and I'll swap the magic arm for this one. This one comes with its own phone holder and some screw adapters, I think. Yeah, that's a 3/8 screw, I think, to a 1/4 inch adapter, which is handy to have. I don't remember what size that is. This is quite heavy, but it feels quite strong, so that's good. Every component seems really well made. And this feels well made too. This is the only bit that I want out of all of that. This stand could come in really handy as a camera holder. This is quite long. It's really good actually. Yeah, I might have use for this after all, just not for my ceiling mount. Okay, now I'm going to put this adapter with a clamp that will not rotate up there and replace the magic arm. Because this magic arm up here does not have a solid connection to its clamp, and so it just rotates freely. So I'm going to send this all back for a refund. It's not fit for purpose. And this might work for some people, this design of just the whole thing loosening, you know, and becoming floppy and then rigid when you tie it up. But not for me. I just want one degree of freedom to be manipulated at a time. Take off the clamp and the magic arm. So get rid of those. Now I want to see if this clamp here can be narrow enough to hold on to this base section here of the periscope. This is the clamp I'm talking about. As you can see, it does not rotate. And the answer is no, it's too big. This whole bottom section is not going to use whatsoever. So I might as well get rid of that as well to streamline it. You're going to have this chunk sticking down the bottom. I don't know why they make the threads that narrow, like it's too many rotations. I'm going to take this clamp and I'm going to put it on this part. Tighten. This screw will stick out a lot. It's all metal and welded. This rotates freely at the moment because this part up here is completely undone. But under most circumstances I'll want this up and I'll want this tightened. That's very solid. The clamp itself is not slipping at all. So I'm rotating this entire thing inside the clamp of the boom arm itself. Very solid. The magic arm is only worth one of these lengths. The rotation can happen here, but that will swing loosely if this bit here is not tight. Although it seems to want to swing no matter what, that's a problem. Maybe this does. No, it spins freely. I guess there's just not enough strength for this thing to prevent too much rotation after a certain point. What I need here is for this to be facing downwards, because these ball connectors usually only have one slot that allows it to face downwards. Now I'll tighten this up. The ceiling and everything else seems to be able to quite easily hold the weight. That's hitting there, so I'd have to come around like this, and that hits there. Unfortunately, I can't tilt you upwards in any way. I can only go sideways and downways. There is a nice amount of friction on everything, so I can kind of just move you and leave you. And each degree of freedom has its own independent tightener. And the ones on these, oh here you can't see, I'll just take you out. These can be tightened with screws, these two. This one is connected like that. That's the extension. And this part here can go down and forwards, that's it, not up. And I don't think that this rotation here is causing it to unscrew, because I think there's enough looseness in this ball connector based on how much I've tightened this thing, which is great because it can lift out on a spring and be moved out of the way if you need to. It's very good for engineering. And then, oh, okay, it was undoing. It was undoing. Alright, I've got to fix this. Okay, I've tightened this back up now. Turns out if this thing is rotating, this thing is unscrewing. So if I wanted to completely obliterate that problem as well, because too many rotations will cause it to undo, I could get a tripod mount so that it hooks in, so long as this bit completely disconnects, and I can swap this entire head with a tripod head. The friction level on the ball head almost has to be full tightness to prevent danglage. Until I become a perfectionist to the extent that I want to change that ball head with a proper click on, lock on, easy to use friction connector, which is what you get in a tripod. The problem is no matter what I connect to this light, it will always be dependent on the tension of that connecting screw in the light. So that could become a source of rotation, but it's too light, so it won't. Like, even if I wanted to go sideways, I think the threshold of the screw is such that it's not going to ever rotate. See? So I don't want to have to reach up and rotate and then pull down. I'm gonna go get a tripod head and see if I can replace this head with a tripod head so that I can just use friction everywhere and never have to tighten or loosen anything ever again. This part here is what allows this ball head to move around based on friction. Okay, and that's what the camera mount has underneath it. So I'll be taking that off there, putting it underneath the light that I'm currently holding. And I might try to replace, see how the TV screen's kind of almost completely in the way? I might replace this old Niwa stand with the new one that I just put back in the box. Okay, so I've got the tripod head. I don't really know what this screw is for. It might just be to squeeze that tighter so it doesn't rotate as much, maybe, because it doesn't affect the looseness of the ball head. So now I'm going to go take the base plate off the camera and screw it onto this, into this 1/4-inch hole. This screw that connects the base plate to the light could now be the weakest link potentially. Flathead screwdriver. Just going to tighten this up. Maybe try to make that central as well. Okay, so this has now got the tripod head on it with a tensioner. And it clears it because the weight of this light brings that down just low enough to pass underneath there if I need to. So I get unlimited sort of rotations. And as you can see, just using friction, I can manipulate this light now with that nice ball connector, and it just stays. There's no need for me to adjust any screws. All I've got to do is stop it from wobbling when it lands, because that's quite a big Jetson's arm we got going on there. Now in terms of height clearance, high above my head, I don't know. It's no worse than before. I mean, the other one could barely go higher. Like that magic arm, look at the length of it compared to these things. The most the magic arm could do was sort of try to go up and down again, and then the whole weight would just rotate and it would just wreck it. So very glad to be rid of that. I'm pretty sure this is fucking amazing and it will be perfect. Now, especially with the fluid head, not fluid head, just friction head. The fact that this is banging on here and making that little noise makes me think, fuck, I'm gonna do something about that. Easy to do. Yeah, I think that's gonna piss me off. Like that was too thin. And I was just thinking maybe that end isn't too thin, but I think they're the same. Yeah, so that would not hit if this clamp was connected to something like that. That would be even better. See what happens if I tighten these a bit. So there's a bit more stiffness, because I don't want this whacking all the time. Makes some noise, but it's certainly not metal on metal. And it doesn't prohibit this thing from coming all the way through. I'm a bit worried that I won't be able to get high over my head easily. Like high above the head. To do that, I'd probably it would defeat the whole purpose of the periscope. No, I wouldn't go above the periscope, which is how I make you really high, because then I wouldn't be able to lower you down ever. I realized this initially, but I forgot. I could bring this whole thing higher if I just put this up on a right angle and just use the single ball joint in this one to, you know, if I put this up like that, right, you seem like a bit more of a reasonable height now that I've raised the whole thing up. But I gotta tell you, this is a very good system. I can bring you all the way out here so you can see the entire vanity. See, now you've got no chance of overpowering the sun. Then again, neither does any bathroom light, really. That's a stupid amount of light. In fact, one of the reasons I probably got all this decay and mold and shit going on my head is because I never see sunlight. One day, hopefully, all of this back fat will be gone. Today, I've just had a shower, psyching myself up. And also when I get the other, when they get the A-Power mirror connected up with my iPad, I'll have a look at my medical condition and see if it's cleared up a bit since yesterday. Having a shower and coming back into this room feels like it always overheats me. So I might get some air for at least an hour after the shower I just had 15, 20 minutes ago. And then make sure this all dries, because it's still wet in there. I could use a hairdryer, but I'll be fine. I've gone back to a 3XL t-shirt. With the zoom function on the A-Power mirror in conjunction with the iPad's built-in accessibility zoom function, I think that's a good zoom distance. I can see the whole thing and it goes all the way to the edges. Now, I'm going to see if this hairpiece fits me. And I'm also going to see what's going on with my medical condition here. I'll lower down the periscope a bit here so we can get close-ups on the side. In regards to this bit here that just keeps knocking, it would be nice to lower this down below this. This bit here is too narrow for the clamp, but I can fit a tube that's that wide up into that hole, and I'm quite certain that this rotator knob would force it to stay, and then I could clamp onto that. But in order for it to be something that you can buy, I can't just use a hacksaw and take a small piece of metal and do it without being in a product that's available easily on Amazon or something. So this is a pretty narrow tube. If this head could be removed completely, the problem would be solved, but I think it's welded on in some way. You could potentially break it off, but I don't think that's feasible. It always surprises me when you see different products from Niwa. They do solve problems, but just not all in the same product. You have to go and search wildly until you find these different things that can jigsaw together to make what you need. Now this extension arm is really good, especially if you want to come out of a desk. So by the way, if you don't want to come out of the ceiling, you could potentially put this entire swing arm out of your vanity and not have to worry about coming out of the ceiling. But I gotta say, it's so much better coming out of the ceiling. It's totally out of my way. This version, unfortunately, doesn't allow you to just screw the whole thing into the ceiling and just take it out. It's sort of locked in, like the periscope part is always going to be there. You can take this clamp off and take all of this arm off and take it away, but you'll still have that periscope sticking down as it stands. For me, I don't really mind. Just having a black tube about that long coming down out of the ceiling, it's not a problem. And it's really stable and it's great for what I need here. So let's look at the medical condition of my face here, the side of my head. It's not as red and raw as it was when I first shaved it. Some of these parts are starting to scab up. I actually need you to go up higher. Yeah. This is a problem. This is causing problems. Just trying to get in around and come in underneath. It's going to be an issue. I need you to not have to worry about that thing. Seriously, no. I mean, I might have to fix that before I continue because it's pissed me off. There are workarounds, but I don't want to have to deal with them. And now that bit's rotating. The fuck? Why is that bit rotating? Just wasn't tight enough. Okay, let's sort that bit, hopefully. I can't believe I've got greys coming out of here. This bit here is like really sharp. I mean, those hairs are really, feel so powerful compared to the weak ones I've been dealing with all these years. I don't know how long this will take to heal, but I feel like it will heal more. There's some adjustments I've got to make to this thing. We need to do something about this head. Alright, I just noticed something. This head is held in by this bolt thing, right? And it looks like they've just sawn it off or something. So either it's a screw or it's something that can be hammered out. Now obviously if it's a screw with the thread stuck through the middle, there's no choice but to saw off this, which would be so destructive. I'm going to assume it can be punched out, so I'm going to get a nail and a hammer, or a screw, I haven't got a nail, or something pointy, maybe a screwdriver, stick it in there and hammer that until it pops out or smashes the bolts out of the ceiling. If it doesn't come, I'll think of another way to attach something under there. But if this is removable, that would be the best shot. It's one of those situations where you definitely need somebody else to help you. Oh, look, that didn't take much. Now that the head's been removed, so long as this clamp is safe, I'll be able to swing around freely. Don't know how much clearance I need there. all of it. Got to go all the way to the bottom here, all the way. Right, so it's flush. And just squeeze it. So now it's kind of on an angle or something. It's falling. Why is it on an angle? Maybe this screw's loose. That fixed it. Right. Just make sure these screws, you don't want it too tight that it doesn't have any maneuverability. And I don't know how much they're going to loosen over time. Let's just raise this up. I'll straighten this connector here. This part here is not going to have any rotation at all. So whichever way this is facing, the only rotation happens from the friction of the pole inside the periscope. Okay? And you don't want to loosen the periscope, otherwise it will fall. So I can't think of a better way to attach this part, because that's on a right angle now, it's perfect. Okay, so just leave it and know that this is not going to rotate as freely as these other two. Also, you can't just tilt back anytime you want. Well, you can, sort of. It seems like everything's going to bash into itself, but it doesn't. That does though, when I pushed up on it. Which makes me question the screw again. Yeah, there's a certain amount of tension you'll need in these screws to ensure that they don't ever cause any banging. It is nice to have fluidity completely, but we are talking about the laws of physics here, so we've got to sort of obey them a little bit. And you can't lower it down towards yourself. There's no fluidity for that with this design. It's simply one height at all times. And if you want to lower it, you have to do it manually up here. Yeah, so we've got no fluid height control. There's not going to be any knocking there anymore, so that's gone away. And it wasn't that destructive. I just had to get rid of this thing by punching out the pin. So we've got horizontal control, but no up and down control in terms of fluidity. So it's not as good as a dentist or a surgeon's swing light. I am starting to get a bit sweaty in here, but I am willing to put glue on my head today. It is a bit sensitive, but I don't know. Whether or not I need to shave off more of this so that that is correct, whether or not that is correct, remains to be seen. My expectation is, because of the 7 inches from the front is going to be the crown, my crown is going to be about there, when naturally it would be about there. So that'd be weird. So if the hair starts changing direction there, in a starburst, it wouldn't maybe have enough length here to look good to merging. It'll just be sticking all out of the place, because I want the hair to match almost in length back here. I would have some overhang, I'm not sure. As it stands, obviously this is not going to be my final shave zone, because this is messy. Yeah. Every time I come in this room, I feel sick. This is the bathroom, bright lights, very humid or something in here. I was thinking about buying a new clock, because I think one of my Airbnb people stole my last one. But they're $65. Everything's expensive in Australia. Probably $12 in America. But then by the time I buy it and ship it and everything, it'll just be stupid price. There are lots of little ones, but I like that big one, and I like having the time, the temperature, and the humidity level. Not that I understand what relative humidity means, because I have no real comparison. I know what 20 degrees feels like, or 25 degrees feels like, but when it comes to humidity, I really haven't learned that. But I feel like I might, if that thing on the wall is accurate, and I don't know. Yeah, seriously, I don't know how you guys have been shaving your scalps all these years. I said I would go and watch more videos and try to find information about this, but I still haven't done that. Or I tried, but I didn't look properly or something, because, I mean, it would just come under scalp preparation, wouldn't it? And hopefully somebody would show how they're, I don't know, I guess, using some kind of hand mirror to look this way at the back of their own head, like this. See? And then I guess they would try to shave like that. But as I hold this, it's a pretty shaky hand that I've got here. It's pretty shaky. The slightest shake makes it difficult. Like, this thing will shake, but it'll stop shaking after a long time. Still shaking. Right, I want to wet this just so I can move the hairs out of the way as I try to manipulate this on my scalp and try to get some decent visibility. If I cut that off, the front edge, because it's too steep, it will change everything. We'll see. Now I want to actually put glue on here or here. I don't know which one that's going to be. Maybe eventually tape, but it seems unreasonable at this point, given that tape has never done anything for me, and you saw how much I sweat. At the moment, all I know how to do is flick, right? That's the only way I know how to do it. It could be the main way people do it, I don't know. Right now, as it stands, I've got no adhesive, so there could be some residual just around the front there from one time that I pressed it against my head that hadn't been cleaned, but that's it. Now, for your purposes, I'll take out a marker and I'll just mark the front of this might work, so long as the wet hair doesn't touch it. So, my front hairline. That's got to fit, surely. Surely they didn't make it so that this can't stick on it. What? Why is there a lump sticking out the back if this lid doesn't press? That's fucking stupid. I knew the Chinese were corner cutters, but not the Japanese. God. Doesn't it seem like that would obviously be designed to click on the back? Like when, while you're using it, so you don't have to worry about the lid bouncing around all over the place. Am I missing something? I guess the Western world is just better in lots of ways, and they haven't caught up. They try to copy us, but they don't get it right. We've got to always make complaints, and they're like, we tried to do it exactly what we saw. It's like, you missed some pretty major points. Alright, let me glasses to get it exact. Alright, I've got residual stubble, even though I shaved my head, down to there. I'd say my hairline goes to the top of the top nub. There. Need less lights. You're the problem. Top of the top knob. There. At least it does go on this way. This is fraught with danger because I could put it all over there, but it washes out. Now I'm going to push the one. This is the natural hairline that came from the company, from the factory, without me cutting out any bit at the top, which I might do yet, I don't know. Depends how steep this one is. Now I'm going to try to let that stay on my head like this. God, there's no way around this, is there? It's all about the tightness of that screw. Looks like my front of my head is staying in position at the moment, so it looks like either way there's going to be an overhang rather than a gap even at this point. So if this is going to be the final size, I have a little bit of leeway here. But if this is too steep at the front and I have to chop it off, then this might be too short and I'll have to throw this hairpiece away. So now we're going to see if I can hold this in position and brush this back. Without it sliding around all over the place. I kind of threw out all my tape, so if I do have any left, I don't know where it is. And it might be the perfect thing just for this particular exercise where I'm just trying to measure. How weird is that? When you lift it, your whole fucking side of your head's peeling off. It's nuts. The conspiracy theorists are going to get me and they're going to say I'm one of the lizard people. And there's proof. Fuck. It's so weird. It's so weird. It's going to require an immense amount of accuracy. But you all do it, don't you? But then again, I don't trust that you're all not just flopping down over some overhang or gap and you don't care because you're always walking around like you're balancing a bowl of eggs on your head. I don't know about your level of perfectionism, whether I'd be satisfied with it or not. Alright, let's stick to that front section. When you've got a hairpiece this long, there is some extra flex you get out of it. You know, it'd probably be a scientific unit of measurement, a certain amount of elasticity per meter or something, named after somebody famous, but I'm just saying that measurement probably has a word. And I'm guessing it would be per meter rather than per nanometer or whatever it is. Most things are per meter. Notice nothing's per yard. Oh, I see. Oh, because I had such dense natural hair, I don't have that anymore. Now I've got all this see-through fucking hair. Shit. Hopefully let me just bring the dimmer down a bit so I can adjust. Why is it so red there and so white there? That's nothing different. Like, why has that changed colour? Why is that all thinned out? Is that part of the shave zone? I hope so. Because what else? Alright, it is. Fuck, this is complicated. Get around the back. You know what I could do for increased visibility for all of this, just give myself a haircut, but so I can see better, you know. I'll have to probably glue my hair down to be able to cut my hair. Otherwise I'll be sliding around all over the place. As far as I can see so far, it seems like a good fit, but I didn't get a good gauge about where this meets up at the front. I guess I could try to do that again. I forgot that was the mission. All right, let's flip it back on, which I don't think will work when it's covered in glue. So I still have to research how that happens too. Make sure there are no glues stuck underneath at the back as well. My little blue dot is starting to fade off my forehead. Now is this going to be a high forehead based on the contour that came from the factory? I need to brush it back harder. Well, it actually kind of seems acceptable. The contour from the factory, even though it looked very V-shaped at the front, could be okay just to keep it. And so I could just go ahead and glue this to my head. It's now giving me a chance to see how well my bleach worked, which I've now thrown away. And from a distance, it looks like first of all, it looks like there's a line across there. Is that just a hair? What is that? Okay, it's just a hair. I am worried that, from what I'm seeing in my reflection, that some of this doesn't look bleached enough. Also, it feels like, I don't know, a couple of things. One thing is, it's starting to feel pretty hot. Like, I know that the moment I take this, I'm going to be like, oh, thank God. And it is the middle of winter now, so when it gets to summertime, where the fuck is the camera? I still can't. There's no way. What a stupid invention. Apple, why would you put a black camera against a black background that is made for selfies? Why wouldn't it just have an illuminated light around it so every time you take a selfie, it lights up so you know where to look? Fucking idiots everywhere. Yeah, these lines, I don't get the detail you do actually, so, because I'm not broadcasting with through Wi-Fi as well as, so I'm just going to trust that with this camera you can see better. See? The lines. I tried to bleach them, but I don't know if it was enough time with the bleach. Should I just stick it down on my head anyway? 'Cause So I don't want all these fucking doll's hair looking lines all over my fucking head. Wow, so much sweat is starting to build up under there. It's pretty wet. In the future, despite these are, like I made a previous video, $130 each, I definitely want breathability. I don't want lace around the perimeter because that's where I'm going to be putting glue. And glue and lace, so like pedestrians and cars. You wouldn't design a world where roads went over the fucking surface, where people had to stop walking, otherwise they'd get hit by a vehicle and die, or have intersections that intersect, so people have to stop and let these cars go through before these cars can go through. No, you'd fucking do it in 3 dimensions under the ground, with no stopping until you reach the destination, and the surface is reserved for pedestrians, or maybe even just emergency vehicles. That's just common sense. Sorry, civilization. It's just fucking obvious. Anyway. Do you flip it? Do you glue the scalp? Do you glue the hairpiece? I don't want to see from any of these people who don't sweat. They're useless. If you're not a sweater, you shouldn't probably be making videos because you're going to be using weak ass glue that won't work for anyone else. Everybody's body is different. Well, actually, I would say the sweatiest people, if they can find a glue that works, it will work for everyone. The whole body chemistry thing is not like some of us are putting out sulfur monoxide. No, we're made of the same nitrogen, oxygen, carbon shit. So don't start bullshit. Not everybody's body chemistry is different. It's just a spectrum of wetness. Start with the maximum wetness. That's me. It's like sticking a hairpiece to a fucking dolphin. That's not how a dolphin talks. I'll say a seal. I would say seal, but seals already have hair, so not a good analogy. We'll stick with a dolphin and pretend that I can do the voice. I just watched Jake Kent's video from 2021. I don't know if he's changed since then. It's 3 years ago. He applied tape around the perimeter and he was missing the edge by this much. It was considerable, which means there would have been overhang and flapping around. Definitely not a sharp connection. He was using tape. I always wondered how tape would be applied because I never really cared or paid attention because it never really suited me doing this. I just smothered the whole thing in glue and there was zero air between myself and the hairpiece. He's just got massive air pockets all through here where it's not stuck down at all. It wouldn't be solid, it would be weak as fuck. And the fact that some people just do the perimeter and don't do any of the center, and so just sometimes when you're lying on the couch it all scrunches up. What the fuck? Surely nobody's doing that and not putting adhesive right down the middle. That's ridiculous, isn't it? And also not going right all the way to the exact edge of the hairpiece and make sure it aligns exactly with the shave zone. It's because nobody's been able to see the back of their own heads properly. It's always been such a hassle. I just watched a previous video where a guy said he's going to just quickly go and shave. He showed a Braun electric razor and said, I'm just going to go shave the back of my head now. I'm like, oh, good. Show me shaving in the back of your head. He edited that part out. I still haven't seen anyone shave the back of their own head yet. I'm on the hunt to find footage of somebody shaving the back of their own head because they're just cutting away and coming back and it's clean shaven. I'm assuming they're using a double mirror system. I haven't seen anybody with a mirror on this side and this side behind them so they can see both angles. I guess if you face that mirror, that's reflecting that way. And if you face that mirror now, it's reflecting that way. That's probably the way they're doing it. They can't ever see the exact back center of their head, ever. So I think they just guess the gap. They just boom, straight across. I guess the control you have of your left and right arm to reach both sides of your head. I mean, maybe if you're right-handed, you could, I'm holding the camera with my right hand, so just let's pretend this is my right hand. You could probably reach around all the way, maybe, and just get good at it. But at the end of the day, surely you want the back part of the hairpiece and the sides exactly in alignment with no gap and no overhang. You don't want a flap anywhere along there, do you? You saw what happened when the plastic was over the top of hair. I mean, that was a pretty clear example that it looks like you've got a bit of plastic bag in your hair somewhere. And unless you buff all your hair out long enough so that it will just be lost in the mix, That's a problem. Then there's the idea of it ever flopping up and coming off, which is just like being nude at school or something. It's like, oh my God, what, like your nightmares. I've got to keep watching because I'm quite shocked, actually. The fact that the tape, which is already pretty thick compared to liquid, he just went over the top, so that's now a double layer of tape, and then he flipped it in over the top of itself, so now it's a triple layer of tape. So he doesn't give a fuck about the thickness around here. And then he's saying, you know, he likes to put a little bit of adhesive around the front hairline just so you can get that adhesive look. It's like, if he's that inaccurate with the tape around the front hairline, that it's going to be double or triple layers because he's just folding it in on itself. I don't know. He must never be able to do a brush back look because I don't understand how that's possible. You would see a massive shadow with any harsh light on your hairline. That's. Why do you think they're trying to get it down to 0.03 millimeter or 0.02 millimeter? I don't know how he's getting away with this. I assume nobody's taken a close look at him, and he's not. I don't know. If he went water skiing, I'm confident that thing would come off his head. Just water blasting, surely. It would just come straight off. Now, I don't intend to put glue over this entire area. I would if it was some other type of glue, not Ultra Hold, but I've tried other glues and they end up balling up and becoming like worse than, well, obviously not worse than dandruff, but bad, right? And it's really hard to get off the lace. I will copy Santa Claus's idea of dunking it and letting it rest in, what's the shit called? The solvent. Anyway, you put it in a solvent for a while and then it just becomes padded out, like it puffs out and it'll wipe off easily. So I've never done that before. I've usually sprayed it, waited 60 seconds and then started rubbing, but he left it like for minutes at a time and then it absorbed in and just made it all just sort of come off. He used some tissues and things. It might have bound it all together as well, so that could be part of the trick. But yeah, I've got to keep finding something else because that's weird what I just saw Jake Kent do. And I get the feeling that a lot of you do that. Just haphazardly chuck tape around the edges in a way that doesn't matter. I don't see any significant gain to putting tape instead of just like painting around the edge right exactly to the edge with adhesive. Then figure out what's going on with the filler in the middle. I don't want flaps of fucking plastic coming around the edges. I don't want there to be a lifting leverage point at anywhere. And I certainly don't want there to be a gap. So neither of those two things are acceptable. I'm going to have to keep looking for a more reasonable solution here. And I also am still waiting to find a video where somebody's actually shaving the back of their own head.
And push it on pretty good, you know? Same thing on the other side. And I mean, it doesn't have to be in the hair, but it's going to be close. Like you can see where it is. I mean, it's pretty darn close. I had somebody contact me that got home from a professional shop doing their installation for them, and it started coming up. So he had fixed it, or tried to fix it, had to take it off. He did it 3 times and his scalp started bleeding. It will happen. Once you're rubbing this glue on and off so many times, your scalp is very sensitive and it will start bleeding. Not good. There we go. That's how it's supposed to work. Boom. All right, we're done. Now what do you do? Okay, we've got our system. See a little lint there. Just kind of make sure it's clean and ready to go. Got a little lint there. It'll never be 100% perfect. It's just impossible. So what do I do? All right. This might not be suggested, but this is what I do, and mine seems to work good. All right, up. And now you remember I've got 2 exposed pieces of tape up there. So I'm kind of lining the back up and not letting it really lay on the tape. I'm just kind of dragging it where I want it. Okay? We're not on the tape. I'm just kind of dragging it and then I roll it down. I'm rolling it down into the tape and rolling it forward. So on to coat number 2. And you can see how much I'm applying here. And this bottle is the same bottle I've been using the entire time. I have not bought another bottle. This stuff is like, which is good. I mean, it's expensive. It's like 22 bucks a bottle. But if it lasts that long, it's not, per use application might be $1 maybe, I would guess. And that's more than fair. So I get my hairline good. And you're not rubbing this stuff in, you're lightly smearing it. That's really what you're doing, is you're basically just smearing it so that it makes a nice, even coat. And alcohol will really take this stuff right off. So just rub some alcohol on your hands. And we have 5 minutes now to let this dry, so you'll see a pause for show. Here we go. Okay, it's been 5 minutes and we let it dry just like we're supposed to. Now we're gonna go down with the front of the system. Once it's down, we're done. That's it. Other than letting the wife go in the back and do those probably 4 pieces of tape, lay it down, you're finished. That's it, finito. You're really focusing on making sure the front is where it's gonna be, and then making sure that you get the front down straight. And maybe I went down a little bit too far with the hairline. But we'll fix it, no big deal. So here's what happens. It sticks to the forehead, stuck to your forehead. That is not the look you're going for. So what we do, I don't have my cotton ball. Take my rag, get a little alcohol on. Alcohol is the thing that eats through this glue. And just kind of rub around where the hair is wanting to stick to your forehead. Let it dry, because you don't want to get that back into the system. Kind of brush it and lightly go back with it. Boom, gone. And I'm done. That's all I got. Now the wife will come in and do that piece for me back there, and then I'll be finished. So that's really all there is to it, and we did it in under an hour.
So I just watched Curtis put on his hairpiece. His head was already shaved magically, and he mentioned his wife was going to help him as well, so I imagine she's already doing all the shaving of his head, so he never has to worry about it. So what he did, putting tape there and then just gluing the front and flopping it down, that seems utterly ridiculous. But this is from 2017. I think he'd probably go to more effort now, maybe. Like, put the tape at least on the hairpiece and then put the whole thing on his head. I don't know. Maybe he's still doing it the same way. I could look it up, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it still works. Maybe it's good enough if you never, I don't know, stand in a windy area and you're okay with floppage around the edges. I don't know. It seems unacceptable to me that you wouldn't try to make it exact all the way around. So far, I've seen 2 examples where nobody gives a shit. One thing Curtis has going there, which works really well, and I've spoken about this before, is the tan line, where your hairline will land, which is extremely useful. It's better than the tape marking method and every other thing. This mostly only applies to lace because poly just lands exact and the glue's already fixed, so you don't have to worry about, you don't have to mark it really. Yeah, fuck it. I'll just guess. I was going to go and, I've got some spray tan and I was thinking, I'll put that dome thing on my head and I'll spray it and I'll wait for that to dry and it'll really give me a nice clean mark. And even if I do change my mind and go for a different, lower altitude hairpiece cut. By the way, I don't think that hair system unit versus hairpiece toupee thing is going to fly. Everyone's using the words interchangeably. And I was just trying to fucking coin an expression that would have made things clearer. But I probably shouldn't try to take away words that already are in, vernacular. I'm still searching for somebody who's going to shave their own head. I've seen a lot of videos during this search of people having their head shaved by others. But is there any footage anywhere on the internet of anyone shaving the back of their own head? Especially like I just showed, like for the first time. Like doing it for the first time. I don't know. I'm going to keep looking.
What is going on, guys? Today we are going to get back to the hair system hacks. We're going to be going into the bathroom today, and I'm going to show you how I actually shave my own scalp. This video is important because it's really hard to shave your own head. It's above you. You have to use a mirror while somehow using a razor, while also doing calculus, while also solving world peace. It's a lot to handle at once, and if you don't have a strategy, if you're not used to doing it, it can feel really, really overwhelming. But there are ways to get around this. So today we're gonna go into my bathroom and we're gonna talk about how I do it. All right, guys, here we are. So I just jumped out of the shower and now I'm getting ready to shave my head like we talked about in the intro. So the first thing that's really important to do is first get your scalp dry. Now, the reason I like to get it as dry as possible is because when you're working with razors, when you have wet hair, it just gunks it up. So get it dry, that way you have less problems with the razor getting gunked up, and you have to spend less time actually cleaning your razor out. It's easier to clean your razor. All right, so the first step right here is you're gonna take an electric razor like I am doing right here, and you're gonna start by actually shaving the center of your scalp, not going too close to the edges, although you can see now I'm making my way to the edges. The reason I like to start in the center is to kind of get some of my dexterity working, to feel a little bit more comfortable with the razor before I go and touch up the actual sides where I'm actually like tracing the line. It just makes it a little bit easier and it's a little less scary. All right, so the next part of this that I like to do is I like to take that same electric razor. It's a little bit hard because the light is so bright. You can't see it super well, but I'm gonna pause this for 1 second. What you have to do at this point is you actually have to use this mirror in one hand to see behind you. You actually have to turn away from the mirror and you have to look at the mirror in your hand while holding the razor. This is the trickiest part of the whole thing. What I like to do is I like to take whatever side that I'm actually shaving, I put the razor in the opposite hand. That way I can see behind me much better. And you can see that I'm going to do this as I move over to the right side of my head right here. I'm using my offhand to actually carve out the lines. As you can see, it's kind of tough to do this. What I like to do, the technique I use, is I start once again in the middle of the head and the scalp, and I move very slowly the razor towards the hairline. But in order to do this properly, what you have to do is you have to manage to get the razor on the same slope as your head. As you can see, I'm tilting the razor as I'm moving towards my hairline, so that way it actually approaches the scalp instead of just riding over the hair. You can see right here that it is not on the scalp, so it's not doing a great job, but as it gets over to the side of the head, it starts to match up with the plane. So now I have it done and we have a shape pattern. So anyways, guys, this is how I actually go about and shave my head before I reinstall my hair system. Let me know if you have a different way in the comments below, but this is generally how I found is the best way. Now you can do this with a straight razor or with a bladed razor. It will take longer and it will be more time consuming, that's all. The benefits of that is there's less of a chance that you do kind of like an oopsie and actually like shave off a lot of your hair, because the electric razor will take off a lot of hair if you mess up. So if you're gaining dexterity with this, you might want to start with a handheld razor, like a bladed razor.
Start from the center and approach the sides. The thing is, your razor will get clogged up pretty quickly, and you will have to turn around. You'll have to put it in some water, wash off the razor, get it clean, and then turn around, get all set up again, and make another swipe or two, and then keep on doing this. So instead of taking maybe 2 minutes to do it, it might take 10 minutes to do it. Overall, probably a little bit safer, and it's a good way to train into using an electric razor, but I don't use the bladed razor anymore to do this.
Thankfully, Jake came to the rescue in a video that he just published back in 3 years ago. That was in 2021. It's now 2024. Thanks for showing, Jake. That is great that you did that. He used a handheld mirror, as I expected everybody's doing. He didn't go over it with a blade, but he said he could. He said that's the long way to do it. It almost seems like he wasn't going to go over that beard trimmer shave with a razor to make it clean shaven. I don't know how good adhesive is going to work over a lot of stubble though. But you got to know, when you put your hairpiece on over the next 3 weeks, hair's going to grow underneath it anyway, so what's the fucking difference, right? Using a beard trimmer should be enough, probably. But the accuracy, we've got to find a way around that. Now, him using a hand mirror, he's got a very solid hand because he's basically Hercules. Let's let me show you what you can do with that mount that I just bought if you don't want to mount it from the ceiling, so you can at least see the back of your own head. Let me help you with that. You just buy this one thing, you just stick your phone to it and use a PC or a tablet. Okay, so basically what we've got here is what came in the box from Newa in the link below. You would just link your phone through a power mirror to your iPhone, which would be mounted here, right? You mount that, turn on the light so you've got some visibility. You can see your own head. I've included that ball connector from the tripod, which is also from Newa. I'll try to find that online for you because I already owned that, but I'll try to include that in the description below. But basically what I got here is what came in that box. It includes this arm that swings around, and then you got over the top of yourself view. I would say under most circumstances you're probably going to be sitting down to get this kind of perspective, but then you just position your phone camera over the back of your head and just swing this around. You'll need some kind of phone holder. This actually came with a phone holder, so if you're using the rear camera of your phone, you would probably just press the video button with the light so that it emits light instead of having to buy one of these big light systems, a smartphone rig like this one from Newa that I recommend. It's not that expensive. So if you don't want to get that, you could just connect straight to this with your phone. That's it. You don't need all these other things. You probably don't even need the tripod connector. If you want to do it as cheaply as possible, just buy this thing, because it comes with a phone mount, and the light on the back of your phone might be good enough for you if you're happy with that lighting. Swing it around any direction you want, and then you can clearly see everything. And then height adjustment here on this pole is simply a matter of twisting, and it'll be lower for you. And going back up. That's the maximum pretty much you'll get. And like I say, in this setup you probably need to be sitting down at a desk, but it will give you 100% visibility when it comes time to shave your head. So where you do this, choose a place where the mess of your hair particles won't be a problem, or just use that vacuum razor from Remington. It works pretty well. If you have an American household connector, because you're in, I don't know which countries use that, maybe I guess Canada would, Maybe Mexico might. I don't know. Whichever countries use that double prong thing, it comes out of the box made for you. You don't have to do what I did and chop it and make it into use, you know, proper connector. You just buy a connector from any chemist probably, you know, for traveling. Then it will convert the American socket to whatever country you're in socket. But using a camera and a receiver screen, by the way, when I talk about the native mirroring system from an iPhone not being able to transmit to an iPad, that's a pretty specific example. If you have a laptop and you're sitting at a table, your laptop probably can receive the transmission from the phone to the laptop, just using the mirror function when you swipe down from the top of your iPhone, and then the mirror button is there and it'll look for Wi-Fi receiver screens. And I assume most laptops are capable of receiving mirroring, like smart TVs, right? One thing that isn't compatible with that is fucking tablets, or at least iPad has no way to receive that. So you have to use the third-party A-Power mirror system. Now, where I am now, with this thing clamped to the table, I don't have a mirror or a sink because I'm in the dining room. You can see there's a substantial amount of table if you want this flush up. So if you have an overhang in your bathroom of that much, you could push it bang up against there. Now let's just, oh, battery ran out. Alexa, turn on the main area. Alexa, change the main area to white. So let's look at the height of this. This table is probably lower than I would say an 800 mil high bench in the bathroom might be. I think most benches are about this height. Right? That's up to there. So you can imagine adding this much height. It's not going to get much higher than that. So this thing might get you in the face. But if you could just duck a little bit, I'm 6 foot tall. Should be fine. If you want to clamp this thing on. To remove this thing and just leave the pole there at all times, if it's easier for you to not have to undo this all the time, you could either just let this stay in the bathroom because it sort of packs up fairly neatly, especially if you've how much of a shot are you getting? If you've only got that little phone holder that came in this box, then it's not going to stick out as much as this light, so it won't take up much room. You could just permanently leave it in the bathroom, or you could attach some sort of mirror to it if you wanted to use a mirror, because this thing would easily hold a mirror, right? The weight of this does not tolerate holding the rotation, unfortunately. Maybe it's because it needs to be screwed over. It's always the problem of, yeah, it will now. So yeah, that's pretty much going to be the maximum height. If you put it up on a bench top, which is probably 800 mils from the floor in your bathroom, that will be a little bit higher. That's how you would do it. Otherwise, do what I did and just drill into the ceiling. It seems extreme, doesn't it? But it's the ultimate. This wouldn't totally be in the way though. Like if that was sticking out of the bathroom bench, it's like the sink and the mirror and everything else, and when I needed it, I would just bring it over and then I could see my own reflection properly. But trying to use a hand mirror all the time or a double mirror system, any double mirror system you get is going to be more cumbersome than this thing. I mean, that double mirror system is pretty permanent, whereas this thing's just going to, you know, pack away. You could just take it all out when you're done. Just go and store it somewhere. But I wouldn't bother doing that all the time. Although, you know, a lot of you, most of you probably, are only doing scalp preparation once every 3 weeks. So every 3 weeks, take this out, put it in the bathroom, then go and put it away. But then again, it's not just every 3 weeks. You've got to check on how you're progressing with the back and sides of your head. No, fuck it. Have a permanent fixture, whatever you do. This thing's going to clamp to a table. You've got this option. This one will not be detachable to mount on the ceiling unless you have some kind of ceiling bar. Do you have a ceiling bar? No, I didn't think so. If you don't have a ceiling bar, you're going to have to drill in. Use those toggle bolts I told you about.